So, quality environments for play. What are some of those? And I'm hoping these pictures are a little brighter, but before we get to them, I was struck last night when Joan Durant went through her approach to positive discipline and parenting, and I really saw it as an excellent way to approach building parenting capacity. Okay, parenting capacity to think about how to guide children's behavior, how to have fun with children, et cetera, which is quite different than a parenting package that's out there to fix the parent, right? I didn't get the sense that Joan was wanting to come and prescribe a set of practices that would fix you. But rather she was trying to give strategies and suggest tools that would build parents' capacity. Okay, and I think that is very similar to what we need to do when we think about how to set up environments for children's play, whether we're talking about home environments or whether we're talking about the environment in the playground, environment in the school, environment in a family resource center, environment at a public health clinic, et cetera. And she talked, I think when I think about children's play, I think there are two main things that we need to do to maximize the opportunities from children's play. One, follow the child's lead, okay? To carefully pay attention to the child and how the child approaches play objects or approaches other children, and how the child sets up and wants to design play episodes. Follow the child's lead and be responsive to the child's lead. Enter where the child is at. And to me, that was very similar to what Joan was talking about, the need for warmth, unconditional love, acceptance, etc. And if you think through the tools and environments that she talked about, I think those same things would apply and do us well in thinking about play environments. The other part of it is, I think, setting up having an intentional environment. And this is where the structure comes in, or the boundaries comes in. Because Joan talked about, this is not about just kids do whatever they want and everything's okay and, let anything happen. If the child wants to hit you, let them, et cetera. She wasn't talking about that. She was talking about, as adults, we have a role to put some structure in it. As adults, we set up intentional environments that are likely to provoke play. Not just facilitate, which is to make it, facilitate comes from the French word facile, to make things easy, okay? Provoke comes from the French word provocateur, which means to challenge. And I think we want to set up structures that provoke children's play, that challenge their play, that put a problem in place as much as we want to facilitate it. So these, in a very simple way, whether we're talking about at home or at a center or anywhere else, I think are the two key strategies to take forward. Of course, underlying that is many of the other things Joan talked about, of having an understanding of where children are at, having some kind of understanding about child development, etc. So, hoping these will show up a little better. Here you have a mother, actually it's a grandmother, and she's with her two grandchildren, and they are in a family resource center, a drop-in program, and they've got the Play-Doh out, okay? What can you see about that situation that's promoting play? They look like they're all having fun. They're definitely all having fun. It doesn't look like anybody's unhappy. If you had better resolution of the picture, you'd see some big smiles on everybody's face. You can't see the little boy's face. He's intently pounding something. What else? What else? Sorry? Yeah, they have some free. They're choosing. It looks like there isn't one thing to do. There's no pattern. The children are not being asked only to play with the Play-Doh this way. They seem to be doing different things with it. What else? Yeah, they're all doing their own thing, but if you see that, you can't see the eye contact. The little girl's eyes are on what the grandma's doing, and the grandma is rolling things out. The grandma is into the Play-Doh. She's playing too. She's with the kids and she's playing too. She's rolling out that Play-Doh. The little boy is trying to put patterns in it with a potato masher kind of tool, right? And the little girl is she's got a knife in her hand, a plastic knife, just to be clear. A plastic knife in her hand. We are very risk adverse in Ontario, I have to say, so you'd only see a plastic knife. But she's cutting up hers. So they're all doing their own thing, but there seems to be, her eyes are going here, but she's watching what's happening here and cutting a knife and all of that. Anything else about what you see in this photo? Sorry? Yeah, there's some props in here that could really suggest some dramatic play or encourage or provoke it, absolutely. I mean, there are props there. This has been designed. This didn't just happen, right? Somebody intentionally put some things together in the basket for the Play-Doh and put it in this container, brought this container out, right? So the environment has been structured. It's a round table, which is always you're all sitting at round tables in part to get people to talk with each other. We've had lots of sessions. If you were all at long, skinny tables, there would have been less conversation over the last 2 days. The same thing for this kind of environment. Okay, so there's many things that have gone in just to have a simple Play-Doh activity. Now, here's another way we can promote quality environments for children. We can talk to them. And this is from research that Jan Pelletier does at the University of Toronto, the Institute of Child Study. She's doing a large study of tracking children in full-day and part-day kindergarten and in Best Start programs in Ontario and in Peel, and she did do work previously in Toronto First Duty. And one of the methodologies that she's put together is child interviews and child drawings. So the interviews have puppets, right? And the adult gets the child to choose 2 puppets, one for the child and one for the adult. And then the adult puppet asks the child about what they like about their day or their program. And then this is all recorded, and you look at what children have to say about their day. And guess what comes up the most often? Play. Unless the children go through multiple transitions where they go somewhere in the morning, and then at 9 o'clock they go to school, and then at 11:15 they go somewhere else for lunch, and somewhere else, and then transitions come up, number one. Otherwise, play. It's the thing they like the most and the thing they like the least. The other thing Jan does is ask children they have given paper and markers, and they're asked a question. Draw me something about what you like doing most here in the program or at home or wherever. And typically, and then these drawings sort of reveal what children like, okay, and what they do, what's most important to them, what they do. And this is an example from a 4.5-year-old. Whoops, what did I just do? Don't know what I just did. This is from a 4.5-year-old where I'm playing with my friends, and very typical. Okay, the kinds of drawings that come forward. A lot of them are about play or different parts of the program they like playing in. And she's doing it for research purposes, right? And these are coded and analyzed in a systematic way. It's also very useful for educators or for parents at home or for home-based programs to simply ask kids or give them cameras when they're a little bit older to take pictures of what they like doing most. It tells us a lot about what's important to kids, what they get out of play, and there's sometimes some surprises. And that would be and here we have children playing in sand, okay? And what can you tell about this environment? Yeah. That's right. These are rocks, and there are blocks of wood. This is a shelving unit here this is an indoor environment. It is not an outdoor environment. And yes, that would be sand on the floor. Not everybody can or wants to do that, but in this place, they actually wanted to have an indoor environment with lots of sand and lots of opportunities for play, lots of play potential. Okay? And there are massive numbers of these various kinds of animals and figures up here, and it's big enough for kids to, it's not a sand table, it's big enough for kids to get fully engaged and involved, okay? And the use of natural materials. So this is very intentional, and one might say labor intensive, and can't be done everywhere. It would wreck wood floors, but can be quite a valuable kind of play environment. A lot of thought has gone into it, but it's set up an environment. The structure for the environment, the intentionality has come in setting up the environment. What the kids are doing with it is very child-directed. In this particular situation, very child-directed, okay? And just as an aside, you don't see it here, but in this particular setting, on those shelves, was also another big bin of figures, of people, somewhat similar to some of the figures that are around the table, only there were about 120 of them. Okay, and there were grandmas, and there were grandpas, and there were mums and adult figures, and there were baby figures, and there were multiple skin colors and representing different racial backgrounds, and there were really a lot of them. And I remember being there observing this one lab center program, and I had a student in the room, and I was sitting observing. It was always hard because it was much more, I was always got into watching the children more than the student, and I was there to observe the student and give feedback. But nevertheless, in this particular situation, a little boy came in, and he was 4.5, and it was his second day in the program. And his eye caught on that big bucket of people. And when he went and he took it, and there was sheer joy in his face, and he said out loud to no one in particular, "Oh, wow, I can show you I can show my family finally." And that was because there were enough variation. He had a large extended family, and he had never been able to, when there were just, the standard one male figure, one female figure, maybe an extra one of those, and X number of kids. He had felt he could never play his family because he lived with a mother and a grandmother, and he had another family where his father was, and there were cousins who lived, and so forth and so on. He had an extended family who he saw as family that was about 15 people. And he could line them all out and tell us about who they were and have one play with them because there were enough materials there, okay? So that was done very intentionally. That they spent money on buying 5 sets of the things so that they would have multiples so that kids could represent their own families. So that, again, setting up quality environments, thinking about those sorts of things, and thinking about the cultural community context that kids are living in. Okay. And here, it's not very good, but here you can see a child has access to a measuring tape so that he's playing, he's got a hard hat on, it's a construction site, and he's actually gotten intrigued with the measuring tape. Okay? Here we have the studying of the colors. We've come back to, I'm going through, and here we have an adult taking up and enhancing and extending and scaffolding. Remember, Joan talked about scaffolding the learning by talking about the measuring tape. And here we have children outside in natural environment. Okay? And using the natural environment, not having everything inside or everything plastic, although there is plastic in the background. And I'm going to bring this to a close as we go on to the next phase, but I think that there are lots of opportunities to support play, to build in quality environments, and I think the most important thing we can do is pay attention to the child and follow the child's lead, and at the same time bring some intentionality into it. That means some play will be entirely child-directed and some play will be adult-guided, but it can all be child-centered. And I think that we benefit when we see that as a continuum rather than sticking with one thing. And the final comment I want to make is I think these good quality play experiences from birth on We'll do lots to improve EDI scores. We'll do lots to improve reading achievement. We'll reduce the number of kids who need extra efforts going forward in the school system. Not eliminate, but reduce. And all of those things. But those are the byproducts of good play environment. I don't think that's the main reason for, I think those are all good things that happen. They're good byproducts. The main reason for quality environments is children have a right to them. They have a right to have fun and enjoy them. And what's more, we have a right to enjoy children. And we do it far more, I think, when we set up good quality play environments. We also are able to understand how much children know. We have other ways of determining what they don't know, and sometimes that's important. Play gives us an opportunity. When it's rich and deep, it gives us an opportunity to see how much children do know. Thank you.